guess it is the case that as we get older, people give us a hard time. I don't know what that is. Pete, am I going to survive the 90s? If they're giving me this much trouble in my 70s, I'm in trouble. I can see it coming already. But nevertheless, trials and temptations and struggles, that's just a common thing in everyday life. And this is one of the rare occasions in Psalm 56, and this is way rare because I'm just so old school. Bear with me and forgive me. I love reading the Psalms in the King James translation. It is so poetic and so beautiful. I have trouble, especially with the 23rd Psalm. Well, they got some new renditions and new translations, and they read it and go, why at a funeral would you read that version? Oh, it's just horrible. But anyway, that's a personal thing. But in this particular song, I like some of the phraseology used in the New King James. Kind of upgrades a little bit, but it also, I think, descriptively defines some of the things that we can use to help us when we encounter troubles. And everybody's going to have struggles. Everybody's going to have trials. I get tickled. I guess I'm a ready receptor for some. People, they come to me and they talk to me about some of the things going on in their life, and I can empathize. Things go wrong sometimes. So how do we respond? What's a good Christian metric for response to struggles and trials in our life? I think Psalm 56 does a great job. I'm going to try to break it down right quick and give, hopefully, just a bit of encouragement to you. If last week was horrible and you're looking at next week thinking, oh boy, here it comes, read Psalm 56. And after we've discussed it, hopefully there'll be some here, a text here where you can look at it and say, oh yeah, I can relate to that. But this is a psalm about how you deal with struggles in life. And I like the way it's worded. Be merciful, O God, for a man would swallow me up. I never have understood people when they have troubles that they look at the heavens, throw up their arms and say, why me, God? Well, number one, God's not the one giving you grief. It's people. And that's what it's starting with right here. This psalmist understood that God is a just God. He's a loving God. But He has given humanity free moral agency. The reason I got punched or slapped or somebody said ugly to me or shot, whatever the case may be, not God's fault. We should not be blaming God. We don't understand everybody has free moral agency, and because of that, much of what goes on in this world that is evil is directly associated with somebody's free moral agency making poor choices that have consequences that bear on me. Let's put things in its context. Is what it starts with. Let's put things in its context. The evils of this life are not God's fault. Okay? It's the fault of humanity making poor choices. But then, of course, that's what God has always said about the choices we make. When we make choices, it impacts other people. And I probably mentioned this before, my dad hated the song Simon and Garfunkel put out, I am a rock, I am an island. I'm by myself, and Dad gave me a speech one time, never forget it, a speech about how you are never a rock or an island. You have an impact on everybody that is around you. You can't with impunity just do whatever, arbitrarily make a decision without it impacting somebody else. You can't do it. And a lot of folk think, well, it's not hurting anybody but me. That's false. That's a lie. That's one of Satan's best lines. Oh, I can do this because it didn't hurt anybody but me. That's not true. Humanity is the one who damages humanity. And in fact, in this text here, he's talking about people, I love the way the New King James puts it, verse 2, my enemies hound me all day. I can relate to that. We're not talking dogs here. We're talking about the fact that they're on you all the time. That is the way things go sometimes, or at least, according to this psalmist, that's the way things feel sometimes. Have you ever been just overwrought, overcome? Just, what? You're just looking at the lamp, the light at the end of the tunnel. It's not the lamp of an oncoming train. Really? Is it? I mean, the relief that you're expecting is just going to get worse. Murphy's Law, that kind of thing. You ever felt like that? This is a great psalm. Because, it doesn't matter if people hound you. This is going to happen. You're going to have times like this. But here's how you deal with it. And I like the way verse 3 starts this next little part, because it says, whenever I am afraid. That famous line a president said some years ago, all we have to fear is fear itself. Nothing could be further from the truth. The beginning of knowledge is fear of God. Okay, yeah, there's a place for fear, but not being afraid of others. That's the context here. It starts out of what man's going to do to me, and he talks about that again later. We'll look at that, but nevertheless, I'm afraid sometimes. It's not saying it's okay to be afraid. What it's saying is, God understands sometimes things happen, and because we don't know, because we're worried or anticipating something, because maybe we have a touch of cynicism and we're figuring, oh, what can go wrong next? That's kind of a mentality we take, but he says, whenever I'm afraid, when I get into this state, here's my fix. I will trust in you. I don't know how many times I have, and I know you have too, I'm sure. In your prayers, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to respond. I don't know what the answer is, but I know you got a handle on things. You're going to fix it. Things will go the way you want to. All things work together for good to them that love the Lord, to those who are called according to his. The whole point being is God's got a handle on it. And when I don't know the answer, and as I get older, I have discovered how not smart I am. And I know many of you are saying, right, you're finally figuring that out. No, I've known it for a long time. It's just amplifying as I get older, realizing I know so little. And what it does, or should do, is make you want to trust God more. God loves you. He'll never forsake you. If you got problems, and you will have problems, and men create problems, humanity is its own worst enemy. But when that happens, don't worry. Trust God. God will take care of you. So he says, I will praise his word. That's the first of 3 times he says that. But he says, in God I will praise his word. In God I have put my trust. I will not fear. What can flesh do to me? The context is with man in verse 1, swallowing me up. Man hounding me, oppressing me in verse 1, and verse 2, hounding me. Humanity's doing this to me. It's causing me grief, but why should I worry about what humanity can do? I have God on my side. He does take that to literal statement here in a few moments. So we need to trust in God. We need to realize that, yes, we really don't have control. It's not within man to direct his own steps. And that being the case, let's trust in God and his word. And then further, in verse 5 through 7, all day they twist my words. It's not enough to persecute me physically, but they got to persecute me verbally too. Now that applies more to us. I don't know when the last time you got slapped or kicked or shot because you went to knock on a door and said, hey, would you like to come to church with us? Not likely in our culture. But I'll tell you what, when you stand for the truth, and you write an article in the paper that doesn't go over real well, people can get a little irate. And some of them, at least, are brave enough to tell you, I'm a little irate. I don't like that. I appreciate that more than they would know. Because then I can talk maybe, and we can hash this out, and we can be conversant about it. Just talking to a young man here recently about being bullied and how you take care of bullying. Sometimes, bullying is just the only fix is to slap somebody with a 2-by-4. But the whole idea is to get to a point where you can talk like civil, mature human beings. And I can't speak for anybody else, but what I've discovered is there are so few of those anymore in our culture. Most would rather take up a sign, scream and holler through a megaphone, and chant some meaningless phrase as though the cacophony and the confusion will be making their side right. And that's not the way it works. Calm, dedicated, intelligent conversation can bring people together mentally, socially, and relationships that are so much better if we would just take our time and realize twisting words does not help any circumstance or scenario. It doesn't. Speak the truth. I realize sometimes that's hard to do. It's harder even to receive it sometimes. But speak the truth. Be calm and quiet and understand that people can't do anything to us if we'll just stand with God. And so the very next term he brings out here is the understanding that God is keeping up with your situation. This is one of those things where you ever feel like you've just been forgotten. Well, sometimes that happens when you're just overwhelmed with things that are going wrong. You wonder if anybody else has ever really put up with what you're doing. I've heard it stated to me point blank. Nobody can feel like I feel because nobody's experienced what I've experienced. Well, frankly, that's not true because the wise man said there's nothing new under the sun. Whatever I've been through, you've been through, others have been through. Somebody has experienced what you're experiencing. You're not the only one. I know it feels that way, and don't feel bad because you felt that way, because even Elijah had that issue. He sat out under a rock. There's nobody else around that loves God like I do, and here I am, and I failed, and God said, there's 7,000 hadn't bowed their knee to Baal. Get up, come on, we've got things to do. So that is an emotion we have sometimes. I'm the only one. Nobody's felt like I have. Well, they have. And the way they got over it, if they did, was the same way you and I can get over it, and that's trusting in God. And my enemies will turn their back. This I know, God is for me. I love that statement in verse 9. God is for us. He's for you. He loves you. You're His child. He's going to watch over you. It doesn't matter what happens to you, what trials you endure, what you go through, how things look so negative. Understand God loves you and He's going to take care of you. And then finally, almost to the end of it, finally in verse 10 and verse 11, twice, and this is a key here, in God I will praise His word. In the Lord I will praise His word. What is He saying when He says, I put my trust in God and won't be afraid? What can man do to me? Why would you think that unless you have been in His word? I had a great lesson this morning from Hebrews 12, one of my favorite chapters, because it comes right on the heels of the chapter where everybody listed, we talked about it in our Bible study this morning, all these guys who did wonderful things, who we tend to idolize and set up on a podium way up here above us. No, they're regular Joes, they're regular people. They had problems, they made mistakes, but you know what? When you do what God said, in that chapter, God said in Hebrews 11, I'm going to take care of them. And what's neat is, He just listed several. There were, in the second part that Boyce pointed out in the Bible study, there was not enough time for him to go through all of a bunch of others and a bunch of the prophets. There were all kinds of people in the Old Testament that you can look at and say, they trusted in God, He took care of them. Okay? When things go sideways, the only hope we have is not us, not our friends, not the government, not anybody else. Our trust is in God. He will do it. And the only way we know that is because we stay steadily and seriously and regularly get into His Word and hear what He did for His people. And that's how we know God's going to be with us. So, anything that you would promise ever, the vows you make, keep them with God. Do what God would have you do, because if you'll do that, our salvation is going to be predicated on our doing what He wants us to do. That I may walk before God in the light of the living. I need to do what I'm supposed to do. He talks about in verse 13, you have delivered my soul from death. That is a euphemism for salvation. That's universal. That's not just Old Testament. That's the idea that God is going to take care of us for in whatever way we feel like we're drowning. God is a life ring. We just need to grab onto it, and He will take us to the shore. He will save us. He will take care of us. Now, we're not going to question what His machinations are, what He does, how He goes about it. What we need to understand, though, is that He will take care of us. But He can if we don't resort to Him, if we don't go to Him in prayer, as this psalm is a prayer. If we don't study His Word and find out where He stands on things to do what He wants us to do so we can be pleasing in His sight, we won't get any relief if we don't do that at the very least. This is a great psalm about, things seem rough today. Drag out Psalm 56. Go back to the book. Understand that God loves us, and He's going to take care of us. He always will. If you haven't put your trust in God, could be why things seem so traumatically losing at the point you're at right now. Things go so much better when you know all things work together for good to those who love the Lord. If you're not the Lord's child, you need to be. If you are and haven't been trusting Him like you should, I invite you. The Bible invites you. God invites you to trust in Him. He will take care of it. If you want to respond, we do so as you stand and receive.